Go. Welcome again. So this month's check-in is in response to some of the requests that were made on our note taker last time, where I asked what you would like to have covered. So we're going to build on that. I had 3 things that were requested. One was using access data to form goals for students. And then the other one was, when we get to the agenda. So updates, we're going to have some updates. Data indicators and tracking growth was one of the things that was requested. Looking at EL subgroups within the context of MSIP 6, and then subgroup performance on MAP and EOC from year to year. So those were some, and comparisons between districts. Those were some things that were requested. So we're going to look at some of those that I can give you answers on. But before we get started with that, Adrienne Johnson would like to share some information with you. And I think I saw that she was here. Are you here? There she is. Okay. So I'm going to turn it over to Adrienne and let her share some information with you. So I'm going to make it full screen so you can just have the full audience. So I'll stop sharing for a minute, Adrienne, and then I'll let you take over.
Okay, thank you, Cami, for letting me chat with everybody. I'll just make this pretty quick, but I have shared a resource with Cami. I sent via email just this morning. If you can please share that, that has links and more information. But basically, I am an alumni ambassador for the U.S. Department of State's English language programs this year. And if you have not heard about that, basically it's a citizen diplomacy teacher exchange type program where U.S. educators who have extensive experience working with English learners go overseas and train or work with teachers in other countries. And there are also virtual opportunities as well. And so this group is just I hear that a lot of K-12 teachers often don't know about it. So this is just a group that I want to share this opportunity with. So I'll be dropping a few links in the chat, but just to give you a sense of what these programs are, there are 3 programs. One is a virtual educator that's part-time, virtual, all online, usually training teachers or working with English learners overseas at the college level, but sometimes even at the high school type level as well. Very, very rarely do you ever work with very young English learners. So virtual educator is one of them, and EL fellow is another. That's where you can go abroad for 1 year and teach and work in another country, supported by the US Embassy in that country. And the other program is a specialist position, which I'm guessing a number of you might qualify for. It's a little bit higher level of qualification, and it requires a little bit more experience in the field. All of these require at least a master's degree, and they are paid, they are funded by the US Department of State. So they're really great opportunities. I'll drop again a couple links in the chat if you want to follow and get more information there. And again, I've shared a document with Cami, and then I'll also put my email in the chat if you want to reach out and ask any questions. So thanks, Cami.
Thank you, Adrienne. And I will share the information that that Adrienne has given to me in that document in our note takers. So you can look back to that and get that information there. Okay. Thank you again. All right, let me go back to sharing my screen. There we go. And minimize this. Kind of hard with only one screen. I'm used to having 2 or 3. All right, so as always, our commitments from our Blueprint for Success with our English learners. There we go. And again, we're working on having teachers have the knowledge that they need to work with the students. So, and we already went over that. So here are some updates. Again, all of this is in the note taker. The first thing, WIDA's annual conference, they're still calling for proposals, and you have until January 31st to submit one if you're interested in presenting at their annual conference this year. You'll find all of that information in the note taker. And there's also tips for placing additional materials order for your access testing. So if you have a student who's moved in, or you find that you've missed a student in your pre-order, this information will give you some tips on how to get those materials in your hands before the close of the window. There's also some information in the note taker on this new district student response file layout in the AMS. So it talks you through a little bit of that, tells you where you can download the information. Also, WIDA has shared that they have a new family engagement focused snapshot that's available in Spanish that you can print off for your parents. They have a new focus bulletin on supporting multilingual learners' language growth through portfolios. That's really good. And you can go and find that again in the note taker. I listed all the links and some further information. And then I wanted to share that the alternate access field test will be opening on February 14th. So if you're interested in that, oops, back one. With one screen. Also, January is National Mentoring Month, and I put some links to a Project Excel that gives you more information and some videos. That was very informative and works with English learners. Might give some role model examples for your students. There's also a new Spanish translation of OELA's Benefits to Multilingualism, their infographic that I shared once before, but now they have it in Spanish if you want to download that. And OELA, in collaboration with the National Research and Development Center to Improve Education for Secondary English Learners, that's a mouthful. They're having a webinar on February 14th that I think would be very beneficial for everyone to watch. So I provided the link for that. And then the next ones are just some upcoming professional development. There's NABE. Oh, and this other resource is talking, it's in Spanish, but it talks about how Spanish grows to 500 million speakers. And it gives you some demographics and some information on how Spanish is growing in our country. And then this is a recording, in case you missed it, a webinar that was recently put on by, I think it was OELA as well. So I wanted to provide those links to you. Now, the first question that we received on the note taker was setting goals for your students and using your access data. And I wanted to refer you back to last year, May 23, 22. And all the slides, recording and chat and the note taker from that session, we went in depth in using your data. So I invite you to go back and rewatch that webinar and go through it at your own pace. Has lots of the information that will help you in using your data, as well as this blank EL growth chart that I created and used when I was in the classroom that will calculate growth and everything for you, but that's there for your use. And as well, there are growth charts that, that we've used in the past where you can make the line graph that shows growth. You can plot your students on that. So those are available to you. As far as access growth, you can get the state growth on the WIDA secure portal. And if you click at the very bottom of the screen in the right corner, it gives you the data dashboard. If you do not have Missouri data that pops up, you can contact me, because I've found that not all of the teachers, when they're put into the secure portal, have been given that access. So if you're finding that you don't have access to Missouri's information, just drop me an email and I will go in and make that change for you so you can see Missouri's growth and those charts for Missouri. So just let me know if you need that information. So I'm not going to spend a lot of time going back and repeating what was in May 23rd's check-in. But again, I invite you to go back and review those slides and the recording and that note taker and get that information that way. But I will go into the next question, which is how can I see the subgroup within each move this, the subgroup within the context of MSIP 6. So there's a way that you can find this information on your own. And I'm going to walk you through that today. So you go to the desi.mo.gov, our main website page, and scroll to the very bottom of the page, and then click where it says Data Portal. Okay. And after you do that, you'll get a page that looks like this at the top. If you then click where it says Data Dashboards, it will open up a page that you can choose a district or charter school, and it'll have a map, and you pick where your district is or the district that you want to look at when you get that page. Then when you're on the data dashboard page, you're going to look, after you've picked your district or whatever, you're going to click on this circle that says student outcomes. So pick your district. You can either have your district report or you can have a building report. So whichever you want to look at, but for right now, we're just going to look at the district. So pick student outcomes. And after you do that, you can scroll down the page to the Missouri Assessment Program. And you'll see it says Missouri Assessment Program Map, and it will take you all the way from 3rd grade to high school biology, government, algebra, all of the assessments that we give through MAP. And then underneath that, you'll see the percentage of students at each achievement level. So it gives you the overview of your district on how well your district did as a whole. But if you continue scrolling down, you will see student group performance at the district charter level. But at this time, we only have ELA that has this comparison. So you can find it for ELA. And you'll see on the left, your district or the district you're looking at. And on the right, you can make a comparison to the state as a whole. So the left is your district, the right is the state's information. And then if you scroll down a little bit further at the very bottom of the page, someone asked about your EL indicator information. This gives you what has been reported or will be reported on the EL indicator. So it gives you through 3 years worth. So that right now it has 2019 to 22. And then on the right, again, is the state information. So you can make comparisons from yourself and the state. Now, if you want to go a little bit deeper and more information, and you want to compare your district to another district to see how you do in comparison, you can go back up to the top of the page and select a different district and gather the same information about another school district. Or if you click on at the top where it says building report card, you can look at specific buildings within each district and get that information. Okay, and then across the top, I did this, then across the top, you'll see that there are different dates. And so this goes back and you can compare yourself, your building over time and get the same information over different dates. So it gives you that information over time. And again, you can make that comparison to other districts or other buildings within your district if you want to do so. All right. So that's pretty much the information that I have to answer those 3 questions today. So I am going to stop sharing the screen and just open it up for questions and conversation today. My first question is, what would you like to discuss at our next collaboration or our next check-in? Do you have topics that are of burning interest? I will tell you that the MEL team and I, your MEL specialist and I, are working on a companion document to the new state literacy plan. And those, I don't know if you're aware or if you've seen the Steps to Success document that's on the DESE webpage. But we are working on an EL companion to the Steps of Success that answer some questions about how we can work with English language learners in this new platform and the science of reading and letters and all of that that's going on right now. So that's something we are working on and that you'll be able to see in the near future. We also have a federal requirement where we have to show an alignment between the Missouri learning standards and the new WIDA standards. So I'm going to be looking for some collaborators, some people who would be interested in being on a committee of sorts to go through a checklist of as actually what it would be, and just say that whether you find that we are in compliance or in agreement between the WIDA standards and our Missouri standards. So would not be a very time-consuming activity, but we will need some input from teachers in the field to look at our Missouri standards and look at the WIDA standards and go through that checklist to show that we are meeting those same standards and that there's a crosswalk between them. So if you're interested in helping with that, let me know. The Blueprint to Success link is broken. I will have to go and look at that. Thank you for letting me know that. Thank you, Janice. I will add your name to my list. Anyone else is interested, just send me an email and I will add you to the list. We are just in the beginning stages of creating that, and we have to have that taken care of by this summer. So that's going to be a quickly formed and put together group that we'll have to meet in the very near future. Thank you, Daisy. Mary Ellen, a lot of concern with the science curriculum that a lot of schools have been using and how it's accessible to ELs. That's a good thing to know. Okay, so that's something we need to look at as far as science. And if you'd be willing to sit in on that committee and share that information, that would be great too. So I need as many people who would be willing to help us as possible so that we have a variety across the state and get a good representation. Thank you, Mary Ellen. All right, any questions that you have or things you've encountered as far as access testing or things going on in your district that you need addressed or want to discuss? This is open forum. And if you don't want to state that it in open forum and you want it to be private, there is a space on the note taker where you can share that information anonymously so that no one else sees it. let me see here, and I'll show you where. So let me get back to my screen here. I'm going to share my screen again and show you at the very bottom of the note taker, if you scroll on down, resources to share. Okay, what I'm taking with me. So something already new, a new idea, or something I still don't understand. If you want to add something there, if you have a question or a comment, please do so, because I check this every time we meet afterwards to see if you've added questions or if there's something you want to cover. And again, this is anonymous, so no, everyone can see the question, but no one knows who posted the question. So if you have something you want to add, please do so. And I'm going to put the link to the note taker in the chat one more time in case you came in after it was posted.
I have a question, Cami, and I
Please.
think I may have asked it before, but every time we do our MOSIS reporting, I have to rethink about it. So I have a couple students who have US birth certificates, but soon after moved back to Mexico and then have now come to us for school. So technically they're not immigrants, but do we include them in our immigrant count if they've not been in school in the US before?
If they've never been in school in the US?
No, never.
So it's calculated on month. It starts when they enter the school.
Correct. So I can include them then in the immigrant count?
Were they born in the US? If
Yes.
so, then no. But
Okay.
if they were born outside the US, came to US, never went to school, or came to school for a few months and then left, then you could count them. But if they were born here, you cannot count them.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do we have a category for those kids? I mean, because they don't fall under immigrant then, so they're kind of just a special case of newcomer, really.
Right. So they would just need extra attention. Yeah. So they count as US citizens because they were born in the US. Unfortunately, but yes, I understand. We've had that instance in my schools as well when I was in the classroom, but they do count as a citizen unless they were born in another country. So they would be migratory, but they wouldn't be immigrants. Or they could be migrant, but they wouldn't be immigrant. Any other questions? Anything that anyone would like to share? I wanted to ask and make sure that you're all aware and able to see our newsletter that we put out quarterly. Some people have told me that they didn't realize we were doing that. That is on, I've added that to the DESE webpage for ELD under, I think it's under professional development. Let me look real quick. And I will share that.
Have you moved the resources that were on Edmodo to anywhere else?
Yes, they are now in LinkedIn. And I think I have that under professional development as well. Let me share, I'll share this page with you. Let me share the web page with you. Here we go. So I've showed this before, how to easily get to the DESE ELD page. If you go to educators, scroll over to curriculum, click on curriculum, and then on the right-hand side, you can go down to English language development. And that will open up the ELD page. That's educators, oops, hover over educators, then go to curriculum, click on curriculum, and then find ELD on the right-hand side. Anyway, so now you'll see We have our blueprint for success, which he said the link is broken, and I see it's not listed there, so I'll have to go back and fix that. There's our frequently asked questions. This is that new map that I shared last time that shows percentages. And then under professional development, let's see. Monthly check-ins. I thought it was there. There's our quarterly newsletter. But our LinkedIn is not there. I will add that. I'll add that to the note taker, how to get to the LinkedIn page. I thought I had it linked here under professional development. Go back here. I don't think it's under resources. No. I've been trying to do a few updates on the web page. And some of the things that are now under EL administrative, the EL administrative button at the top takes you to the compliance information, but a lot of that's going to migrate to my page. They've kind of consolidated my position with some of Sean Cochran's previous position. I don't know that they're going to hire someone. They've hired someone to take Sean's place, but it's not going to cover a lot of the ESL things that he covered. So those will be added to my plate. The new person is going to do mostly the migrant and immigrant information that Sean took care of. So that's a news update. I just found that out last week, that they've hired someone, but they're going to be handling other duties, not so much the ESL information. But I will add that LinkedIn page. Let's see. I was trying to think if I have it added here somewhere where I could quickly give it to you. It is in my, if I've emailed you recently, it is in my signature line, the link to the LinkedIn page, but I will add it to the note taker. Okay, I'm gonna stop sharing again. Any other questions or comments or other information that you are curious about or want to know more about?
I have kind of, not really a question, just I kind of want to make sure I'm doing this correctly. We've had quite an influx of newcomers since we got back from Christmas break.
Yes.
So in the past few weeks, we've had probably like a dozen new enrollments in our ELLs. So since they are arriving during the access testing window, are they required to take the access, or are they kind of exempt from it?
Okay, so if you have students who are new to the United States, they're brand new to our country, and they have limited English, you have some options. If they're brand new, you can use that newcomer kit, and you really don't have to give them the screener. So that's something I want to make sure you're aware of. But any new student has to be screened or complete that newcomer kit. Okay, so you have to do the screener for those new students unless they have previously been in the United States and have taken the WIDA assessment someplace else. Okay, so if they've already taken a screener somewhere, you can skip that. And then, yes, you would give the access test to the student. If the student is brand new and you're giving them the screener, if they're brand new to the United States and you're giving them the screener, then you have the option of giving them the access test or not at that time. So a lot of
Okay.
cases, if they have some fluency and you can tell through the screener that they have some fluency, I would suggest going ahead and taking the access test so you know exactly what level that student is. But if you give them the screener and they perform really low and they're level 1, then it's not going to give you any further information to give them the access test. So just give them the screener and put them at the level 1. And you'll give them the next screener next year to show growth. That makes sense?
Yeah, that's actually exactly what I was asking, because I have had some enroll that under the DESE qualifications for newcomers, they didn't necessarily qualify either because they've been in the United States and just didn't enroll in school. That's been a couple of students, or in a couple of situations, they in their home country had English classes at home. However, just like someone who takes a foreign language class in the US, we know that they could take 4 years of Spanish and still not speak Spanish.
Right. Yeah.
So what I ended up with was these students who didn't qualify as newcomers, but still screened as level 1s. And so it kind of felt cruel to put them through the access test.
Exactly.
Because the screener itself was painful enough for them. I mean, they didn't even
Right.
know what to do. So I'm glad you said that, and I'm glad I asked that, because I've been a little worried.
Yes. Yes. If like I say, if they scored a level 1, they're new to the country, they score a level 1, why put them through that again? Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Great question. And I've gotten that several times in the last couple of weeks, so very timely. Any other questions or observations? Are any of you participating in the field test? Daisy is, Melissa is, Jess is, good. So if you want to share, do you have any, well, you haven't seen it yet. So in the future, if you would be willing to share, tell us how it went and your thoughts on it, that would be wonderful. And just give us some feedback on how it went and what you think about it. It's a great opportunity and I hope it goes well, and I hope they have it filtered enough to where it's productive and a good assessment for our students. So it'll be interesting to see where it goes. Any other questions? One thing, I was on a webinar, I think it was with OELA the other day, and they were sharing that our state as a whole is one of the fastest growing with English language learners at this time. So that was interesting to find out that we are one of the largest growing EL populations in the nation. So, and I don't know what caused that, but I'm sure from what I've heard from districts, a lot of districts are getting their first ever English learners and are reaching out to find out what to do with students. So that was interesting. And it kind of goes along with that report that I shared in the note taker about Spanish increasing in our states. So be watching for watching the ELD webpage. We'll be adding things to it. We're working on some videos for new teachers who are new to ESL so that they can have some background information and some short little clips to watch to help them know what's going on in our state. Welcome, Mary Ellen. She says she's her first and only EL teacher, so it's great to have you join us. And this is a good group to ask questions and get help from. Janice is also new to Missouri and to teaching EL, so welcome. And you're welcome to email me or our mail specialist, and you'll find those links again under professional development. And the mail specialists are all listed under the professional development tab on the ELD webpage. So you can contact them anytime with any of your questions, and they're very happy to speak with you. We've got, I know a couple, I saw Guadalupe is here. And so she's in the Kansas City area, and Rhonda's here. She's down in the Southwest.
Hey, Cami,
Yes,
can I make a plug for something coming up
you
in
certainly
Southwest?
may. Yes.
So this is not limited to the Southwest region. So I'd like to welcome anyone who would like to come to our English Language Educators Conference on April 6th. It will be here at MSU in Springfield. Our guest speaker will be Dr. Carol Salva. So she's going to be talking from her book, Boosting Achievement, which is really geared for newcomers and refugees and life students. So looking forward to having her here. And then Tu Tran, who is a higher ed ESL teacher at Rolla, will also be here. So we're still open for proposals. We're going to have lots of options from pre-K to 12 and then higher ed as well. Cami will be presenting as far as I know, and some of the other male consultants. So I was trying to think how to get the flyer in the chat. I'm going to try to get the flyer in the chat so you can see it.
And I can link it on the note taker as well.
Thank you.
Is it in our newsletter?
It's also on the newsletter
so.
under the little section from Southwest region.
That's what I thought. So you can find it.
We'd love
there
to
as
see you
well.
guys there.
That's great. And Elevate is coming up as well. So there's information about that in our newsletter as well. So please, if you're able to take advantage of those, I know professional development and getting away from your school districts is a little bit difficult in the new age we're living in, but if you're able to participate, that's great. We'd love to have you join us at those professional developments. And again, we have these check-ins recorded so that you can go back and view them again at your convenience. So they'll stay up and linked as long as we can have them there.
I have another question. This is a
Yes.
higher ed certification question.
Okay.
Do you know if the list on the DESE website of universities that are offering EL certification is updated?
I think they updated that last year. We were looking at certification and making some changes. And I know some universities were removed from the list because they were no longer offering. I can check again and see when it was last updated, but as far as I know, it is current. So it was current last year. So unless there's been a change in the last year, it should be current. I don't know if others have added to it. That's a possibility. So I know there were several that discontinued offering EL certification, unfortunately.
At one point, wasn't it in some kind of discussion that DESE was going to adjust the requirements to add EL as an endorsement to your licensure?
We are still kind of that's still under discussion. So we had a committee that got together and we worked on making recommendations for changing the certification process and adding some different types of endorsements. That has to go through MABEB and the Board of Education before it's approved. So that has to be discussed. We make the proposal, then they look at it and discuss it and see if they want to pursue it further. So it's gotten to where we've given our suggestions and we're getting those written up to be submitted, but they don't meet very often. I think it's in September. So we're kind of in a holding pattern to wait to get to submit those to those and further that discussion. But at this point, there are no changes. I know there at one time we had discussed an assessment tool so that you could take a test But we decided against that because we were concerned that it would lower the quality and the knowledge base that those teachers had when working with our EL students, because they need the strongest and best support that they can get. And we were just afraid if we allowed a test that would not give us the quality of teachers that we need in that area. Because we cannot, that was one of the discussions that we had, we cannot tie a test to like required service hours or mentoring or anything like that. It's either a test or no test. So if it was just a standalone test and nothing tied to it, we didn't feel that that was a strong enough base for our EL teachers. That makes sense? But it's still in the work. We're not throwing out the new certification qualifications. So it's still something we're pursuing, but it's kind of put on a back burner. Everything is on the back burner right now because we're looking at literacy. But I don't know. We are, like I said, we are part of that literacy team. So at least we have a voice in that area. And we'll have some say in what the literacy plan says and how it affects English learners. So that's a good thing. Any other questions? Please, if you think of something that you would like to have us address in the coming months, add it to the note taker so I can either find a speaker. I know I've asked Cynthia Chastain to do a session for us on social emotional learning. So she's going to do one in the next couple of months on that topic. And I think Rhonda's going to do something with us on newcomers again, perhaps in the future. So
Sure.
So anything that comes up that you want more information, please let us know, because we want this to be applicable to you and meet your needs. Yes, Mary Ellen, you certainly can send me a question. Most definitely. So if you have no other questions, then that's it for today. Short and sweet. Hopefully the information that I shared on the website gives you help in finding that information where you can make those comparisons and see your data. And some of you may not have known that existed or how to find it. So hopefully that's helpful information. Thank you for being here. And I'll look forward to seeing you next month. Maybe I'll see some of you at Powerful Learning Conference. We will be presenting on ELs and reading, the science of reading at that conference. So hopefully we see you there. You all take care. Have a great rest of your month.
Thanks, Cami.
All right. See you soon.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Bye. Have a
Bye-bye.
great day.
You too.